sewing friends, I'm Tessa from Love Notions, and I love to help you find sewing patterns and sewing support. This video reviews everything you need to know about the Tidal Top from Love Notions sewing patterns. So here's the news. Tidal Top and Dress now comes in ladies sizing extra small to 5X, and it has a full bust adjustment done for you included in the pattern. The tutorial and the pattern have been fully updated, and we're thrilled to re-release this pattern, especially during this very appropriate time of year. Because I know that the Tidal is the perfect casual but interesting wardrobe essential. Here's a quick FYI. You can grab it on sale now for a very limited time. The link is in the box below. Throughout the first part of this video, I'll show you all the tester versions, and then we'll take a deep dive into a few of the pattern details that might benefit from a quick visual. You can skip ahead at this point to get to the quick sew along for the new Tidal Top, so you can see just how easy this pattern is to put together. So what makes Tidal Top, Tank, Dress, and Maxi a must-have knit pattern for your collection? Number one is the fit. The Tidal is a fit and flare type of top and dress, and this silhouette looks so good on every body type. This means that there is a little bit of negative ease at the bust, and then it flares out over your tummy and hip area. So that's perfect for any shape. Plus, that flare out is great for warm weather when you don't want to have too much fabric close to your skin, but you also don't want to feel like you're wearing like a frumpy loose garment. Plus, the Tidal features princess seams that skim over your body shape in all the right places. So depending on your fabric choices, it can almost work as an optical illusion to give a more proportional curve. Additionally, there is a back center seam that is great if you want even more shaping behind you. Number two, Tidal is great because of the fabric. Tidal works with one main fabric, but it also gives you an opportunity to play around with coordinate fabrics. Combine stripes and florals, color block it with different solids, or you can even use a woven for the front panel and a knit for the back piece. You can use nearly any knit fabric you have, light to medium weight, at least 25% stretch. So Ponte, Cotton Lycra, Liverpool, ITY, and even Scuba can make the most beautiful Tidals. And I know you already have some of those in your stash. Number three, Tidal is great because it's fast. Tidal is one of the quickest patterns that you can whip up. There are only basically two main pattern pieces, that front panel and the back that wraps around the sides, and then whatever sleeve you like or sleeveless, and then the neckline finishing. You can choose bindings or bands. So with just a few seams, you can make a perfect casual dress or top. And that ease is perfect for sewing newbies or even for kids who want to learn to sew, because Tidal is also available in a matching kid pattern. I like to wear the Tidal Maxi or the dress with just like a jean jacket over it for a completely no effort polished look. And also when the heat and the humidity come, this pattern will be my go-to to wear with shorts or capris, because I like to wear things that are a little bit more flowy through the tummy and the hips, but also still have some shaping at the top, and Tidal fits that perfectly. So let's dive into a quick Tidal sew along, and I'll show you how easy it is to sew this pattern from start to finish. All right, let's get sewing a Tidal Tank in the knee length dress version. I have a couple of things ready to go here. I have my pattern all cut out. I have the back piece, which is like the very bigger piece. I have my front panel, which is right here. And the pattern offers two different ways to finish the neckline and the arm bands if you're doing the tank or sleeveless. So I am choosing to do the bands instead of the binding. I just think it's going to be a little bit of a quicker, easier way to go, but the binding also gives a really nice professional finish. So I've got all my pattern pieces ready to go, and then I've got my fabric. What I've decided to use today is a rayon spandex. I have this really small stripe print for the center panel, and then I have this coordinating blue fabric that I'm going to use for the back. Now, when it comes to putting your fabrics together, there are no rules when it comes to Tidal. You can do florals and stripes, or really any combination of colors that you like. You could do a really cute, solid color block style. But when it comes to me, I like to put the lighter print in the front and then have the darker print in the back, because I feel like it has a little bit, like I like the silhouette that creates for me and my body. So I like putting the lighter fabric in the front and the darker fabric kind of wrapping around the back. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I am also going to be cutting the bands out of this dark blue, or this blue fabric. All right, after I've got all of the pattern pieces ready to go, I want to show you that on the pattern pieces, if you want to make the tank version, there is an extra line here. So I am going to just go in with my paper rotary cutter and cut that line off. If you want to save this little scrap of paper so that you can make a different version of the pattern, what I do is just flip it over, kind of keep it connected, but flip it over so that I can use it again later. I can retape it. So I'm going to also cut the other big piece to make the tank as well. I'm going to cut this extra part right here, leave it attached there, and then just flip it back. I'm going to fold it in a little bit so that it stays out of the way when I'm cutting, but it'll be right there for later when I need it, and I can just reattach. All right, let's get this out of the way, and let's do our center panel first. I'm going to be using the stripes for the center panel. As you can see, this fabric here has been used before for another project. So this is the perfect piece of fabric to use for that center panel, because the center panel does not take very much fabric at all. Does anybody else get dizzy when they're looking at stripes like this? Oh my goodness. Whew. I'm going to use my rotary cutter, and I don't even need pattern weights for this. It'll be just fine for me to just cut it out with my hand holding down. Before I take it off, I'm going to go back in with my marking pen, and I'm going to mark a couple of places, just this little side spot, this little arrow here, so that I know that I'm matching up my notches correctly. And that should be good. Keep in mind that if you need to add or subtract length, there is a line here on the pattern piece itself that you can use to separate and add in extra paper here and then continue the line down. Or if you need to cut this and then overlap them and take away any extra length that's in on the pattern. That is such a huge help. All right, I'm going to take this and set it aside. I can get rid of this. And now for the back piece, I am going to use this royal blue. I think it's a coordinate that was purchased at the same time as the stripe over there, so it should be a really good match. With my marker. And all I need to mark is this little notch right here. We have 3 bands that need to get cut. I'm going to use this blue again for the bands. I'm going to cut one on the fold for the neck. And for the neck, the arm, the tank arm side band, we're going to be cutting 2. We're just going to be cutting them out straight from this pattern piece. This one doesn't need to be on the fold. And so I am left with 2 backs mirror image, 1 front panel cut on the fold, 2 arm bands, and 1 neckband. All right, in the interest of saving time, I'm actually going to go through and do a little bit of my prep work for pinning things. I'm going to clip my pin, clip in my neck bands and my arm bands. These are going to be folded in half, and then I'm going to clip right here on this little skinny side here. I'm going to fold them all right sides together. And I'm using Wonder Clips, which I love for knits especially. I don't like using pins on knits because it just takes a long time to get them through. So there's a little bit of my sewing prep for the bands. I'm going to set those aside. And now I'm going to come in and do some prep for my back piece. So you'll see that there is a long line through the back. You'll be able to tell it's the center back because the arm side is here. So this is where your arms would come out. And this part right here is going to meet up with that stripy piece. This back kind of wraps around you. And so here's the center back, and we're going to put these 2 back pieces right sides together and clip these and then sew that. So let's get that prepped. All right, that's the center back pinned. So all of that's pinned. Now, what we actually can do right now is, just to save time, we can go in and pin or clip the center front panel right sides together to the back of the title. So here is the arm side for the title. This is the arm side, and we've pinned, clipped right through the center. And now what I'm going to do is scoot this over, and I have this long line right here. This is the princess seam. So I'm going to take my panel, my front panel that's in the stripy fabric, and I'm going to match that up against the rest of the back of the title. Make sure that you've got it right sides together. So this is the right side of my fabric, and I'm going to match that up. So this is the neckline, and then this is the arm side, and I'm going to match up starting at the arm side. I'm going to pin right at that corner of the arm side and lay that nice and flat there, and I'm going to match those notches that I had marked earlier. So you can see it comes out here and then it nips in a little bit at the waist, and then it's going to flare out all the way down to, this is the knee length version, so it's going to come all the way down there. All right, so I've clipped in this front panel, right sides together, to the other side of the back. Now I'm going to lay out the other side of the back. We're kind of changing directions here. So now this is the bottom of the arm side, and this is all the way down that princess seam. So I'm going to flip this panel back over, and I'm going to clip in these, pin this together, right sides together, doing just the same thing that I did on the other side. We've got it flipped around now. Again, I want to make sure that I'm matching up my notches. So here's my marking. There we go. So when I go take this to my serger, I'm gonna have to make 3 seams, and that's it. I'm gonna do 3 seams, the center back seam, the right-hand side of the princess seam, and then the left-hand side of the princess seam. And then that's most of the construction. Now I also will be able to sew the shoulder seams at this point, and then it'll be ready for installing the bands for the neckband and the tank armbands. Okay, so as you can see, I've got everything pinned together. It's kind of a crazy mess right now, but I've pinned together, right sides together, the front panel, here are the princess seams, and then I have the center back clipped together too, and I'm gonna go take a pass through at the sewing machine, and in fact, I can actually even go ahead and put the shoulder seams right sides together as well, just to make it super, super easy and fast. All right, at this point in the process, I have sewn those princess seams attaching the center front panel to the back pieces, and I've also sewn the center back seam. I also went ahead and sewed together the back and front shoulder pieces on both sides. So with all of these, I just put the pieces right sides together, and I used a serger for this process, but you could also use you could easily use a sewing machine for the entire process as well. So at the beginning of cutting out everything and getting my pattern pieces together, I had got my arm bands and my neck bands, and I had sewn the skinny side, the short side of them, right sides together. So I had folded them in half and then sewn with a straight stitch on the sewing machine right at the ends here. And I would suggest doing that with a sewing machine instead of a serger, because this is for the neckband and we want to make sure that there's not quite as much bulk as there could be there. So we are going to need to attach these bands to the neckline and the arm side, since this is for the tank version. And I already marked the corner points and folded in on these other 2 bands, but I just want to show you how I went ahead and did that with this last one that I've got here. So I'm gonna turn this out, and I'm going to fold in the center, the seam right here, so that again, we're reducing bulk. And then I'm going to fold that in on itself. And this is gonna be the first quarter point that will be marked on the band. So I'm just gonna mark that with a pin or with a clip. And then I'm going to flip it around, and where I press these, there is a mark where that fold was, so I know that that is the direct opposite side of the band. I'm gonna mark that with a clip as well. And this seems like kind of a tedious step. Like, why do we try so hard to get these pretty precise? And that's because attaching a band is one of the more difficult steps on this pattern. It's really pretty easy once you get the hang of it, but when it comes down to it, that's pretty much the most difficult step on the pattern. And we want to make sure that we get this band to lay really nicely on here. And if we have it uneven, then there'll be like puckering and gaps, and one part will be stretched out and one part will be too loose. And so we want to just make sure everything's really even. So I'm going to fold it in half again, and then I'm going to match up my pins, and then I'm going to clip this part to mark the other edge. And then I will do the same thing here. Now I have everything clipped together. And you can see that I have 2 that are the same length, and then one that's a little bit longer. The one that's a little longer is going to go on the neckline, and these 2 are going to go on the arm side. So now we have to correspond these quarter points onto the neckline, and so we're going to know that the first quarter point is the center back seam. And so let's find the front quarter point, and that's going to be at the center front. And then we'll just match up the center back seam and the front quarter point and fold that in. And now right here, we've got the other quarter point for the neckline. And like so. So what you should also know is that marking the quarter points on the neckline is exactly the same as marking the quarter points on the arm size. So you will just follow this exact same process for the arm side. So now I'm going to attach the neckband to the neckline. And I want to match up all of these pins to its corresponding pin, but I want to make sure that the spot that has the seam line is going to be in the back, because I don't really want to have the center front be this little seam line there. So I am going to pin this together, right sides together. The neckband is folded in half, and then we're going to pin that in place. And then I'm just going to making sure that everything is aligned nicely. I'm going to pin my next one, raw edges to raw edges, right sides together, and I'm just going to pin that back in place there. Bring this around. Here is my center front on the neckband. Attach that to the center front on the garment. You can get rid of that other one. When it comes to neckbands, you really can make them as thin or thick as you want. I usually like mine to be a little bit thinner than the pattern, and that really depends on what kind of fabric I've got. Now you'll notice that the neckband itself is shorter than the neckline, and that is to bring in the neckline and really adhere to the shape of your body so that it comes in and is not gappy. So what I like to do here is just to stretch that out without stretching the neckline itself. I'm just going to stretch the neckband and then put a clip in there to make sure that nothing is gappy. And so I will go around the entire neckline and repeat that process, and I will also do that for the bands as well. All right, at this point I have gone through and matched up all the quarter points and then added in extra clips all around the neckline and the arm size. And you obviously don't need to add in this many clips, but I want to make sure that I don't get any puckers inside of my neckline. If you want to have a thinner neckline or a thinner band, you can absolutely cut that if you want to, but I would make sure to do that before you attach it, because the more that you kind of take inside of this seam, you're going to be cutting into the main body of the fabric, and you might end up with a really loose and gappy neckline. So I'm going to go take this over to the serger, and then we'll take a look at the final product. If you watch the video and still have questions, feel free to drop into the private Love Notions pattern support group on Facebook. If you ever get into a tricky sewing spot, you can get help within seconds there. So thanks for watching this video about the Tidal Top. Make sure you get yours before the sale ends, and the link is below. Subscribe to the Love Notions channel to watch all of our other pattern videos and sewing tutorials. And go ahead and leave me a comment below with your thoughts on Tidal Top or any of your pattern questions. Also, are you in the loop with all of the Love Notions sewing goodness? Use the link in the box below to join our newsletter, where you can stay up to date with all of our $5 Feature Friday sales, our sewing events, and our new pattern releases. Enjoy your Tidal, and thanks for sewing with us.